on the John Fredericks Radio Network and the John Fredericks Radio app, and I am your Godzilla of the truth in America, your oracle of the deplorables. Well, you want to save money on your taxes? I do. I tell you what, number one thing that you can do is go to Julio Gonzalez, like Ann and I did, Engineer Tax Services. This guy knows what he's doing. Basically, he'll take your taxes. Don't file them. Just do them. Your accountant, however you do them is fine. Don't want to get between you and your accountant, or if you do them yourself, that's fine, or your brother-in-law, whatever you do, get them done. But before you file them, get them done a couple weeks early. Don't wait till like April 15th. Before you file them, you want to send them to Julio, and he's going to look it over. And if he can save you money, he's going to make the recommendations. You give it back to your accountant, and he gets 5 or 10% of whatever he saves you. Or if you get a refund, he gets 5% of that. So it costs you nothing, zero, zilcho. And you can start by sending him your 2024 taxes at Engineered Tax Services. This is how MAGA should be doing taxes. Look, there's grants out there that he can get you, especially if you own a small business. How do you think the Democrats get all these grants, right? They take advantage of it. We don't. This is tax literacy for MAGA. Don't want to get between you and your accountant. Don't want to mess with that. You get it all done before you file it, or take your 2024 taxes, and you simply send it to Julio's company, and they'll look at it, and they're going to tell you exactly what you're able to save and how to do it. And then you can refile it or redo it and save the money and just pay them a percentage. So there's no money out of pocket. This is the biggest no-brainer in history, because there is nothing to lose. No money up front, no cost. Tax literacy for MAGA. He also sees, again, what grants you might qualify for. Now, how do you take advantage of this? It's free. Just text the letters ETS, E Edward, E Engineered, T Tax, S Services. Text the letters ETS to the number 26786, tax. Do it now. Text, it'll take you a minute. Text ETS to the number 26786 and start there. There's no obligation. Let's see what you're eligible for. Just get your 24 taxes, business or personal. They'll set up a secure portal to send it there. Then about a week, they'll get back to you and say, here's what you can resubmit and save or get back. I mean, it's a no-brainer. And they do it all the time because the tax code is 2 million pages. You and I can't possibly read that. Either can our accountants. Text ETS to the number 26786, and you're good to go. Thank you. Join me now, Dave Bossie, the King of Maryland. Dave is also Republican National Committee man in Maryland, best-selling author, New York Times, Let Trump Be Trump. Dave also a great dad, great father, FOJ, great friend of mine. Dave, good to have you with us.
Well, thanks for having me back. And I'm just going to start. I didn't know, I had never heard of the tax offering that you just made. I'm going to do that. First of all, I know Julio. I did not know that even existed, John, that you could even do that. That's a brilliant strategy that I'm going to take him up on.
All you got to do is text ETS to 26786. You can do it during our narrative when you get off the air, and they'll get in touch with you. And you run a company, you got taxes. You're going to be able to see what you can save. It's all legal. Well, the tax code's 2 million pages. Oh, these guys have got to figure it out.
This guy, I've known him for many, many, many years. He hosted a book party for me and Corey Lewandowski when our book, Let Trump Be Trump, came out. He hosted it at his home in Florida. This guy is one of the original Trump supporters. And I just didn't know about it. And I'm going to make sure I call him and yell at him today and ask him why he never made me think of that. So
be sure you tell him you heard it on the John.
I'm definitely going to 100%.
That'll make me laugh, Dave. But Ann and I take advantage of this. But I tell you what, because you don't have anything to lose. That's the thing.
Key, what you just said. Look, I'm not here to sell him, but it's sometimes the light bulb goes off and you go, my goodness, why have we never done this before? Why are we thinking of it for the first time? Anyway, there's probably other people out there that do it as well, but he's a phenomenal guy and a phenomenal Trump supporter. So I hadn't thought about it. So anyway.
So Dave, here's what's weighing on me today. I got two things. Let's go 1, 2. The first is this redistricting debacle that is going on. We just lost another seat, it looks like, in Utah with a ruling going from 4-0 to 3-1. That came out of the blue. We lost that. Democrats won that. Obviously, they won all these seats in California. That won big. They've got this diabolical, obscene plan in Virginia that is going to probably pass, taking Virginia from 6-5 to 10-1. Your governor in Maryland, Wes Moore, says he's trying to get rid of the Andy Harris seat so they can sweep. That's another seat they're going to try to gerrymander out. And I look at the RNC and I look at the RPV here in Virginia, and especially with the April referendum coming up in Virginia, there's really no plan to defeat this. RNC's kind of deer in the headlights here. What do we do?
You know, John, I spoke to Joe Gruters, the chairman, the brand new chairman of the RNC this morning. And he is 100% dedicated to making sure, preserving every single Republican seat, fighting for every Republican seat, and trying to make sure that where these Democrats are so professional at snuffing out Republican seats, that we fight them on the beaches, in the hedgerows, in the courthouses. It doesn't matter. We're never going to give up those seats. The Democrats have been gerrymandering and using gerrymandering for generations. And it's the first time that the Republican Party under President Trump's leadership has woken up and said, you know what, let's make the fight fair. And that's what we're doing, because President Trump recognized that the census of 2020, just like the election, was rigged. Okay, the census was a rigged census. It's a bad census, and that's what we developed this map on, the national map of congressional seats. Well, if the data is bad, the congressional seats are bad, and that's why he has said, let's make sure that we have equal representation. And so Maryland is a perfect example. You were just mentioning our radical left-wing, socialist governor is going to, by the way, just 20 years ago, Republicans had 4 of the 8 congressional seats in Maryland, 4 of 8. Today we have 7 Democrats, 1 Republican, and our radical governor wants to go 8-0, just like Massachusetts. You look at what the gerrymandering has done in New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, all up Connecticut, all up and down the eastern seaboard. These radical governors for generations have created these diabolical plans to contain power for the Democrat Party. So we are fighting finally, and the Democrats are squealing because they know that there's more red counties, more red congressional districts, if it is a fair map. And so we're going to have judges that are going to be bad. We're going to get bad rulings. We're going to have to fight those all the way to the Supreme Court and make sure that we have fair districts. And then, of course, you have the Louisiana case sitting right now at the Supreme Court, which is trying to overturn, the generation-old ruling of racial districts using race. And so if that gets thrown out, to be honest with you, I think that we'll be able to pick up several more seats. This is a fight that's not going to end in the near future. This is a fight that's going to be several years in the courts, several years trying to get this settled. And so we must be vigilant. We must fight. Virginia, my goodness, it's a disaster what's going on in Virginia. And I live in Maryland, so it's hard for me to talk. But I get what I paid for. Okay, I have I live in a state that is just horrific when it comes to liberal policies, tax and spend policies, social engineering policies, terrible education policies, open border policies, even to this day. Virginia, you're right behind us now. It is now you elect a socialist governor who ran as a moderate and is the furthest thing from it.
So, what's your take on Tuesday? It was a shellacking. Virginia, New Jersey, Mississippi lost 2 Senate seats. The public service commissioners in Georgia went down. That's never been done. I understand it was normally they're in the spring or something. So that went down. Obviously, the California ballot thing passed 2-1.
Yeah, but John, let's just pump the brakes just for a second. Those were seats that we, being optimists, want to make competitive. But the numbers, life is always about math. Every decision you make is a mathematical equation. Well, when you have voter registration numbers like in New Jersey that are devastating for the Republican Party, when you get outspent by millions and millions of dollars, and you have the entire machine of the state party. Yeah, we could think that the TV moments for Ciancarelli were good and the debate was good, but it doesn't change the math. So even though we're optimists and we want to win, even in Virginia, Winsome Sears, it's just a brutal reality that we woke up to. What really is the shocking thing is the Attorney General in Virginia, because what that means is common decency in Virginia, which is a very, very proper civil state, right? It's the pride of Virginia, the Commonwealth over the last 200 years has just, provided the country some of the greatest men and women in American history. Okay. The founding fathers in Virginia, they're rolling over in their graves that somebody who puts forth political violence on their opponents wants to see the kids of a political opponent die in their mother's arms. Where's the decency? Where is it? And for our incumbent Attorney General to lose to that individual is the most, to me, it was the most shocking thing. But when Spanberger won by such a wide margin, it made it impossible for him to win.
What is your position on the government finally opening? Obviously, and we had to concede that none of the firings would be permanent.
Yeah.
So really, nothing came out of this for either side, but heartache for many people. But now we're faced with these Obamacare subsidies,
Good.
big premium increases January 1st. I, for one, am in favor of finding a off ramp like Jen Kiggins wants, capping income, getting rid of illegals, but not having a hard stop December or January 1st, and people not being able to pay for their insurance. What is your position on that? What should we do?
Well, first of all, only with President Trump's leadership would we even be having this conversation. For the last 20 plus years, look, let's not forget, everybody listening, let's not forget that Obamacare was created to fail. It was created to get to this point. Why? Because the brainiacs, the socialist brainiacs inside the Obama administration, they didn't want Obamacare. They wanted single payer socialized medicine in America. They used Obamacare as a stepping stone to socialized medicine. And that is where it is coming to. They thought if they got enough people, enough of the American people on Obamacare, and then it failed, it would be the only result would be single payer socialized medicine. And that is that's really what this whole debate is about. The left is squealing because Obamacare is failing, and we have a courageous president who is standing up to the left and saying, you know what, we are not, the American taxpayers are not going to continue to pay the insurance companies these premiums and give terrible service to these people. Let's give folks who need it options, and that will drive down prices. That will drive down the premiums. And that's what we need to do. We need to rethink how we deliver health care for those 40 some odd million Americans on Obamacare. It's a big number, but the trillions of dollars that it takes to prop up Obamacare isn't worth it. There is a much less expensive. There's no debate. There's no argument amongst the Republicans that people who deserve it, and we're not talking about, obviously, John, you and I, we don't want illegals, people who are here illegally. We don't want people who don't deserve to be on, Obamacare to be on it. So the people who should be on it deserve some conversation about how to help them and their premiums, because there's a lot of hardworking people who struggle to pay those premiums because it is out of control. So we need to have that national conversation, and only through President Trump's demand that we do not kick this financial burden down the road further for another generation's problems. He's going to solve it. Why? Because he's a problem solver. That's what he does. He takes on tough problems and he solves them. You just look, you look around the world, you look around the country, and that's what he's trying to do, whether it's crime in these big blue cities or peace in the Middle East. He's taking on the tough projects, the tough jobs, and he's getting it done.
So what do we do in January? Because that's only 6 weeks out.
Yeah, there's going to have to obviously be a conversation now. They get the government reopened. There's going to be a conversation. In my opinion, there's no guarantee. And John, this is obviously a fast-moving, proposal to get the government reopened. So I don't know between now and January what's going to be able to happen. I do know that the promise has been made to have a debate and votes on the continuation of Obamacare. The Republicans in the United States Senate should take that opportunity to educate the American people about what options really exist and how we financially get our house in order as a country, and therefore helping those families who need the support that are eligible and that deserve it. And so I think that we're going to have a conversation. Are we going to solve it between now and January? Absolutely not. But you have to have the conversation and education before we get to it. So I think next year will be a big year in 2026 for trying to repeal and replace, as we used to say, repeal and replace Obamacare, or create some new entity within that they. If the Democrats want to save the stupid name because it's after their idol, their king, Barack Hussein Obama, then that'll be a discussion. But we don't care what it's called. We care what it is.
We're with Dave Bossie. Dave is the Republican National Committee chairman from Maryland. Dave also New York Times bestseller, Let Trump Be Trump, and others. And also, Dave, the president of Citizens United, right here with me in Washington, D.C. So, Dave, let's go to the midterms. It's survival now. We have to win the midterms. Otherwise, we all know that President Trump's agenda stalls. They'll probably impeach him on the second day, although it'll not go anywhere in the Senate. And we're back to square one. In your view, you've been around, Dave, a long time. Winners and losers in the elections. You engineered the first Trump victory. I was there with you every step of the way. How do we win the midterms, Dave?
Well, first of all, we have to stay on domestic messages. We have to talk about the issues that affect the kitchen table. And to me, that's what I'm going to be preaching to folks at the White House, at the Treasury Department, at the Commerce Department. We have to be focusing on those Americans that voted for Donald Trump to get America's financial house in order. They are willing to take some pain in order to get the long-term value and gain out of these policies, because sometimes it does take a little bit of time, but we have time. We have to get the rates down. I think President Trump's nominee, whoever that is going to be this spring for Fed chair, is going to be incredibly important and send a message across the United States economy and the world's economy where America is heading economically. So we have to, John, we have to focus, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, world peace and what the president has done to create peace in region after region around the world is incredible. Okay, it is no less than historic, and it is an outrage, to be honest with you, that President Trump didn't win the Nobel Peace Prize. It's just it's become a joke, right? We all know it. However, the American voter cares about their family first, and that is what we need to. We will win the midterms on that message, on lower taxes, greater opportunity, more jobs, lower regulation, and opportunities for the American people to see that shining city on the hill, as Reagan calls America. And that, I think is the goal. Obviously, John, we have these fights with redistricting. That's going to matter. As I said at the beginning of this interview, everything in life is a mathematical equation. So we need to have more seats available to win than the Democrats. And I think we do. We are going to come out of this in a very strong position. The Senate, John, why don't we do this? It may be in the first of the year. Let's do a day, John, where we go through the Senate map for 2026. And then let's do another day where we do the top races in the House. If you think that would be interesting to your
Yes,
viewers.
absolutely.
And that way we can really talk in specificity about the numbers. And it'll give us a little bit of time, because some of these races, obviously we have court cases that are hanging out there. And I think sometime in January, it's going to, it'll shake out a little bit. And I think we could have a little bit clearer conversation about some specific races.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we plan an hour? I'll get with you after the show. Let's plan, because can't do this in 20 minutes. Let's plan a full hour. Let's get, you can either go there or you can come here so we can do it together. You can show everything. I'll get the right staff together, but I think that will be very, very helpful.
Good, let's do it.
To kind of lay out what the plan is, because there's two things. There's the anxiety of, oh my goodness, we just lost another seat, perhaps in Utah. What's happening? But then it's like, okay, what is the plan? Once you have a plan and everybody can see it, then we can all get on the same page. I can be an advocate of that, and then we can figure out where to put our resources. I think that's a brilliant move, Dave.
Good, let's do it. And look, obviously, President Trump is the leader of this party.
Right.
President Trump is going to lead us to victory, because the passion that he has for America, to make America great again, it's burning brighter every single day. His successes are getting greater. We're going to have momentum, this time next year going in. The economy, in my opinion, is picking up. President Trump inherited a disaster economically from Joe Biden, and 10 months in, he has really turned the corner. And just look at gas prices. Prices of energy drive all other prices, because it's all about shipping. It's all about production. When energy costs are up, everything costs more. And so by President Trump opening up the spigot, making America energy dominant in the first 10 months, is driving gasoline prices down at the pump. But that also equates to lower food prices on your table. It equates to lower lumber prices for new homes. It equates to things across the board, just as Joe Biden drove prices up across the board. President Trump is going to continue the policies that drive these prices down. And I think that they're on their way. We're going to see a better fourth quarter and a better first quarter of 2026. And it's going to put us in an incredible position to get a new Fed chairman in the second quarter. And I really think run the table on the Democrats with President Trump's leadership.
Final thing, how critical to the midterms is President Trump's urban strategy led here in Washington, D.C.?
Well, I think it's an incredible it's an incredible opportunity for President Trump to reset the whole conversation about crime and punishment, to show the American people how radical the left is. He's not going into red cities to protect Republican voters. He's going into the deep blue cities because he cares about all Americans. He doesn't care if you voted for him or not. He wants you to have a safe city to raise your family in, to be able to walk the streets, to be able to go to the grocery store, to be able to go to the local restaurants. President Trump is committed, and it's been proven out. You look at what's gone on in Washington, D.C., where you and I walk the streets. It is an incredible difference today versus 3-4 months ago.
Unbelievable.
It is just a night and day difference. And if only the radical left, who have Trump derangement syndrome every single day, they wake up, and if President Trump says the sky is blue, they say it's black. They cannot help themselves but to hate President Trump and to take the opposite position. So when he says, let's make the city safer, you would think that mayors and governors would say, you know what, that's a great idea, Mr. President. How can we partner on this? And instead, they reject it. Instead, they call for riots. The left-wing mayors call for violence. They call our men and women in law enforcement jackbooted thugs and Nazis. It is outrageous what they do to our men and women in uniform, both in the National Guard and the state police, the ICE agents, the national, the Border Patrol. It is outrageous what they do. And only through President Trump's leadership is he fighting through that to make these cities safe against the desires of the Democrats. The Democrats want criminals to run rampant. It's incredible to me that they want illegals to suck up their fewer and fewer resources, and they want
it's insane
the criminals to run rampant. I don't understand it. It doesn't seem like it's obviously not sound public policy, but the left continues to vote for it, which is shocking to me. So thanks very much, John. I appreciate being with you.
Dave, as always, thank you. We got the Dave Bossie Hour coming up sometime next week over these maps. Dave, thanks. I'll call you a little bit later on. Thanks for being with us.
Very good. Thank you.
Dave Bossie. Just a very quick word from our sponsors, No Music, Jenny Beth Martin, and Michael Letts. Patience of a Saint, Michael. I love you. We'll be right with us. Hang in there.